Sarah, we're still in the Ophel, just south of the Temple Mount. And there's an olive tree here, like there are lots of olive trees outside the city, up on the Temple Mount. So many places we see olive trees. They don't grow everywhere. You have to have just the right place. Do you realize in our area, someone thought they could have a huge olive grove, and they put out thousands of trees, and they didn't produce olives.
Oh.
Yeah, they wouldn't grow because humidity. It has to be a dry area. A place like Spain, a place like Central California, you're very limited. But these are olives. Now we're at that time of year where the olives are turning. This is when the olive oil is best. Right now.
When they're green.
They're green, but very soon. Here's one that notice is purple. So that's going to be a little stronger than this one. And if you bite into it,
I'll let you do it.
oh, it is so strong. It is unbelievable. You can't eat these things.
Yeah, you can have that.
Oh
I
my.
definitely do not want to taste that. No, thank you.
You really ought to, just for the experience. Just one bite. Just bite into it. You don't have to eat any.
Oh man.
It's rough. It's rough.
Oh, okay.
It's rough. They are so bitter. You say, well, how in the world can we eat them?
Gosh.
Well, they get soaked for a long,
I
long
see.
time. Unless you use lye, and I
Okay.
guarantee the Jews know how to do this. So they mix lye, an alkaline substance, with these, starts pulling out that chemical that makes them so bitter,
I see.
that keeps the birds from eating them all.
Yeah.
And then they can prepare all kinds of things with olive oil. You can make soap, you can make lotions. It's for food. It's for all kinds of purposes. You have a lamp. You need olive oil. Put it in there with your wick and so on. So they're used for all kinds of purposes. But I'm going to throw those away.
Yes.
Now, how long will an olive tree live? You just look at the trunk. That does not look like it's been there just a couple of years. That's been there for a while.
Yeah, it looks very old.
Yeah, very old.
Very old.
And the older they get, the bigger the trunk gets. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Okay, yeah.
You can see olive trees with trunks that are 4 times that big. They're huge. And the top may not be as healthy as this tree. This tree is not that old. Old enough to have a trunk that size. Let's do it again.
So how old do you think this one is?
I don't know. I would guess maybe 40 years, 50 or something, like, because of where we are here in the Ophel, south of the Temple Mount, within the walled city. I doubt it's too terribly old. That would be my guess.
So how long do they usually live?
You know, I remember hearing a guide say that the olive trees in what they call the Garden of Gethsemane, just outside these walls, were there in the days of Jesus.
Wow.
And I thought,
That'd be
no
a
way.
long time,
Yeah, that
yeah.
would be 2,000 years old. But I looked that information up, and though I doubt those are 2,000 years old, because we know the Romans had to get wood for fires, they were camped here, they had to build siege ramps, they may have used them. So I doubt that those are 2,000 years old, but when I checked out how old they can live, I was shocked.
How old do
They say the one at Bethlehem is between 4,000 and 5,000 years
There's
old.
no way. That is crazy.
There's one in Greece they used to think was the oldest one in the world that they said was 4,000. They say now somewhere between 2,000 and 4,000 years. So
Wow.
these things can live a long time. But I want to point out one passage. I think we need to remember Deuteronomy 28.
Okay.
God brings blessings and curses
Oh yeah.
according to whether or not we're faithful. He told the Israelites, if you do not choose to serve me, if you reject me, what will happen? You will have olive trees all through your country, but you won't use those olives. Why? They'll fall. So olives can just come onto a tree and then fall off and not be any good, never develop properly.
No.
So serving God brings blessings. Rejecting God can bring curses. And of course, if we look closely, we can see it's been pruned. It
Yes.
reminds me of a parable Jesus told about a tree that wasn't producing well, and the owner said, take it out. And the servant said, Lord, can't we prune it and fertilize it and see what happens? Give it another year, give it another chance. So, yeah, that would make it produce more. So I want to talk about Gethsemane.
Okay.
Now, Gethsemane is a word that simply means olive press.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, olive
Yeah.
press. And so when Jesus went out to pray in Gethsemane,
Mhm.
we felt sure that's where there are olive trees, but that's also where they press the olives and create that oil.
Okay.
And so we already know that oil is used for all kinds of purposes. Let's talk about his experience at Gethsemane.
Okay.
What impresses me is that Jesus was so much a man,
Yeah.
and he knew what was coming. Being stripped, being beaten, having these nails put through his wrist and into his ankles against that cross, that the evening before in that Garden of Gethsemane, we're told he sweated drops of blood.
Oh my gosh.
And you might think that's impossible. No, that's an actual medical condition. It's called
Hydrosis.
yeah.
Hematohydrosis.
Yeah, thank you. Hematohydrosis. And you can look up that term and find out if someone is under enough stress, they can literally sweat blood.
Oh my gosh.
I knew someone who
Actually.
had his business burned down.
Oh.
The car was in there. He wondered how he was going to make a living, and he said he literally began having blood enter places, affecting his vision.
Oh my goodness.
It's a weird condition, but Jesus was enough man that
Yeah.
when he knew he was going to suffer so greatly, it was stressful. He prayed intensely for hours in the garden. The disciples, he asked for some comfort for him. He asked them to stay awake. And of course, they were supposed to. God commanded the Israelites, you stay awake on Passover. This is when you stay awake, just like the Israelites had to do as they were ready to leave Egypt. So let's recreate that again. And they kept falling asleep. They kept falling asleep. I want to stress that related to prayer, our prayer lives should be intense, because what we're dealing with in this life is the most important things in the world. What's important is not the car we drive, the house we live in, not the number of friends we have. What's important are things that are spiritual, that are eternal. And I remember my good friend David Kelly many years ago wasn't going to church. And when he first started going to church, his prayers were a half a sentence or two sentences at the most. They were short, they were shallow. David has grown and grown. He's an elder in his church.
Oh my gosh. That's
He is
awesome.
a great
Yeah.
man. And when he prays today, it's nothing like he used to pray. It's intense. He cares about God hearing him pray. And he begs and pleads for the souls of people who are weak and wandering, people who need to be strengthened. He cares about things that are spiritual. We need to move in that direction.
Yeah, for sure.
We need to move towards God. Please help me. Give me wisdom. I want to be a blessing. I want to be salt and light. I want to bear fruit. I want to encourage my family to know you strongly. I want to encourage those I know who aren't saved to come to know you. Those should be our focus every day of the week.